Okay, namaskaram. So much love and light and blessings to everyone. Thank you so much, Adam and Natasha, for aligning in this moment. This is the voice of Quisha over yonder. And I am excited to be embarking on my very first 30-day juicing fast. And I've spoken to you both about joining me for a period of these days. And so I just wanted to hear what your thoughts on fasting are, any experiences you've had, and or what intentions you have for doing fasting. As I mentioned briefly to you both also, that this time of the year energetically is so powerful for us to be doing any kind of more intensive spiritual work, and also cleansing and purifying, detoxing the body, and allowing ourselves to rest and recuperate. And so I'm excited to be sharing this journey with the both of you, however it ends up organically unfolding. So before I share more about my own journey, Natasha, would you like to share about your fasting experiences and your intentions for doing this 3-day juicing fast?
Yeah, thank you, Quisha. Hi, this is Natasha. Natasha's voice, at least. Um, my intention to go to this fast is to cleanse. Cleansing being on the radar, coming up really strongly. And I feel it. I feel it everywhere. I feel it for my health, for my mental clarity. I need it. I'm really grateful for the opportunity that we can do with Quisha together, as my environment is not very suggestive to it. Parenting, cooking doesn't help. And I've been eating kind of really not so well recently, and the discipline around eating was not there as it used to be before. So that needs to be put in order. So I'd like to have a fresh start with my diet, with my discipline around eating, because I know I can do it. I've done some fast before. The longest was probably 4 days with water and berries. But intermittent fasting was part of my life for a long time. So, what else?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Do you recall how you felt when you did the 4-day water fasting and the berries? What you noticed?
Oh yeah, I had cravings. I had cravings for cabbage soup. Something from my childhood,
Yeah.
and something that I really love, and it's really nourishing. So I was craving cabbage soup so badly. First thing I came out of the fast, I made myself some cabbage soup.
Mm, that's
Yeah,
so interesting.
yeah, and I was also longing for hot liquids.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I enjoy myself on a regular basis, especially in the mornings, hot water, and during the day, especially in the cold time of year. Um, Also wanted to mention, I would like to align with the moon a little more. So this powerful moon right now, full moon, is really speaking and calling, and I would like to answer the call. Um, Come into full power, full health, full power. That's my
Mm,
intention.
beautiful. Thank you. What I was saying was interesting about your craving is when I was doing a water fast, I also noticed different levels of cravings for certain foods. Um, and I think it's cute also the fact that cabbage soup, besides it being a comfort for you, because I know comfort comes up for us as we're doing these processes. or things that remind us of that, is that cabbage soup is also very cleansing. That's also, people do cabbage soup cleanses also. So I just think it's such a lovely way to reintroduce food also, and something that's gentle like that, that just happened to be your natural expression and experience of it. How
I
about
didn't know.
yourself, Adam? Oh,
Go ahead,
what were
Natasha.
you saying, Natasha?
I was just gonna say, sorry for interrupting. I didn't know that, and maybe we should try juicing the cabbage since it's so cleansing.
Well, perhaps breaking the fast with some soup is always a really good idea. So perhaps when that happens, having that be like an intention, because it'll also help push out if your intestinal tract hasn't cleared out any excess debris, then that will also help it come out a lot more gently and process through the system easier when you introduce cooked food again. Yeah, just a note on that. So I did a 40-day water fast this year for the first time, from March 22nd to the end of April 30th. And in that process, I experienced also a lot of that kind of craving. But my intention going in was to release any blocked emotions, anything unconscious that was still locked in my physical body, for myself and my own well-being, and to commit 40 days for myself consistently, and also to prepare my body if I ever enter into motherhood in this lifetime, so that I'm not passing anything on unconsciously to fetus, to baby also. So those were the two inspirations and intentions for me, to prepare my vessel and also to give myself that degree of self-love. And when I started to research other videos around people doing 40-day water fasts, there was a common thread that around a certain day, like day 9 or day 10, some people maybe day 7, but there's a deep dream that people spoke about having, where you have this super big craving for something. Like the dream is about you eating this item. And for mine, it was hickory sticks. When I was younger, I used to love those little potato hickory sticks full of all that, seasoning flavor, like a potato chip. And I had this dream where I was I grabbed a few pieces and I put it in my mouth. And as I was chewing, I remember this vivid, oh my gosh, oh no, I'm not supposed to be eating them. So I swallowed, and then I went to take another, one or two, and went, no, I'm fasting. I can't eat this right now. So it's like in my dream state, I was like very vividly, eating and remembering that I'm fasting, that I shouldn't eat. So it was very funny for me, because I haven't eaten those, for a long time. But the fact that you mentioned, that comfort from childhood, that was a process that came up for me. But just to also just open up to Adam, I'm curious what you're hearing and or experiencing, and what your experiences for fasting are.
Kind of my experience with fasting is, it's just kind of a way of life, to be honest now. Like, I mean, I'm pretty consistent at, between 18 and 24 hours. I mean, I just really have one meal a day. If my body is asking for food, I mean, I'll make food, or I'll eat, but like I don't typically need to eat more than that. Usually my daily intake of calories is around 1,000. That's kind of where I've been keeping it at. And I know a lot of people say
Mm.
it's low, but for me, it just feels natural. Um, and so kind of the experiences that I have, like I think the longest I've gone was 108 hours. That's my longest. And I mean, after the 24 hours, after I get to 30 hours, I don't really even notice it, to be honest. And when I'm on it, it just feels normal, to be honest. Like my body isn't really craving anything. I don't go through massive craves. And I think it's just because my body's so conditioned to, lengthen that out anyways, that I don't even really pay attention to it, to be honest. I know when I come off of it, and I eat something, I notice that my body is a little shocked and be like, what's this? And sometimes it doesn't feel the greatest. Just kind of my, and I know it's my body reacclimating. So, I tend to do something, like a pasta or a soup sometimes I'll have, or some salad, and just kind of get back into it that way. Um, yeah, so that's just kind of what I do. It's easy,
Mm.
not really
And
difficult.
do you recall what the transition was like when did you ever eat more 2 or 3 meals a day, and what that transition was like for you before you got to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, I used to always have 2 or 3 meals a day for sure. Let's see, I would have started fasting in 2019, and it was almost just like a little light switch that I just like, I think I watched a documentary on fasting and saw the benefits with it. And I said, oh, I'm just going to do that from now on. I don't need to eat more than that. And so I just kind of just changed my mindset, I guess. It was kind of that easy for me to do.
Mm.
And I know it's not like that for everyone. And, everyone's like, you're kind of weird that you can just kind of switch on and off like that. But I mean, just for me, when I make a decision on something to do something, it's not like it's a big deal at all for me to do any of that stuff. Just, it just
Mm.
this is the way that I'm doing it now.
Yeah, I hear that when we are tuned into our natural expression of what our body's calling for and what supports us, it's ultimately all that really matters. And for those around who are not used to either being tuned into their own body that way, or those kind of deeper processes of giving up, because for many also food is also an addiction. It's a comfort, but it can also be an addiction of how much, and what are we consuming, and is it actually nourishing ourselves? So I can understand, and I've been around a lot of those experiences around others where it kind of jolts their awareness, and they find it weird, or they just don't quite know how to relate to it. And then I've also been on the other spectrum where there's people who it's also just their way of life, and it's how they've also integrated their way of lifestyle and living, and it's just very natural expression. So I've experienced both ends of the spectrum on that.
Quisha, Amanda's gonna join. She just finished up with her thing, so if
Beautiful.
you want to.
Natasha, Amanda is, oh, I'll let would you like to introduce her?
Amanda is my wife. And I just invited her. So let's see, there she is. She's coming on.
Adam, did you say she's your wife?
Yeah, she's my wife. Mhm.
Is that all the description?
Yep, she's my wife. She lives in Seattle. We're just in Seattle, and there she is there. So, Keisha, I'll let you take it away.
Welcome, Amanda.
Hi, I'm just in the car driving, so I'll keep myself on mute if you want me to.
Okay, well, we just had this really big call to align and talk about fasting, and so Natasha is a dear sister, wild soul, and she's going to be joining me for 3 days of water fasting, starting tomorrow, juicing fasting, pardon me, beginning tomorrow. And I'd mentioned to Adam about this process, and so we'll look at when we can also align a few days together. And so everyone's just kind of sharing their experience on fasting at the moment. And so Natasha shared about her intentions for this one, and Adam shared about his more intermittent fasting that's just a natural expression for him. And I've shared a little bit about my 40-day water fasting. But is there anything that you feel called to share in the moment around your experience with fasting and or curiosity?
I usually fast throughout the day, especially if I work in the morning. I usually don't eat anything until afternoon time, so usually like around 1, 2, or 3, depending on the day. So I do that 3 times a week, and during that time I'm just drinking water. So So I do that quite often, well, at least 3 times a week. I don't always have an intention with it. It's just something like I naturally do because I don't like to eat really early in the morning when I'm getting started with my day. But Adam had invited me to do fasting with him. I think he told me Friday. And then I got home and I was making lunch and he's like, I thought you were fasting. I was like, oh shoot, you didn't remind me. So but normally I'm fasting throughout the morning and I'm working and I'm running and I'm using all of my, senses. And so both physical senses, emotional senses, and, psychic senses. So I'm using all my sensories. But so when I get home, I am a little bit more, I need to refuel a little bit. Just because I give everything at work. So yeah. So yeah, I didn't know what our call was about today, so I wasn't prepared.
It's a perfect surprise and alignment. It's something
I know.
It's something that I shared last minute with Natasha also, and so I appreciate you, just sharing some of your energy. I know you're driving right now, but and it also sounds like you've naturally integrated into that like 16/8 kind of intermittent fasting schedule where you don't eat until afternoon and maybe don't eat as late at night. And I feel like maybe all of you might have some experience with this that you might be open to sharing. But as you were sharing, Amanda, I'm reminded that naturally most of my life when I would wake up, I wouldn't be hungry for breakfast per se. And I would naturally also want to eat later, but because it took a while to deprogram the, 3 meals a day and just eating according to what the family dictated or the habits or the routine. But naturally I would want to be active first and I would have a lot of energy to burn before I needed to eat anything. But when I did eat, it just felt more balanced also.
Come on, baby. Yeah. I feel the same way. And then also, but I do enjoy breakfast. So, I like the idea of breakfast. Like I'm like,
yes.
I love. So a lot of times when when I do eat, when I go home, a lot of times it could be kind of a breakfasty type of thing. So once I get home from work, so but I'm also limited to the things that I eat. So because of my sensitivity, so like I don't eat meat, and that's just a spiritual choice. And then also I try to stay away from gluten as much as possible, just because it really upsets my stomach. It's not an upset in my tummy. It's more of a it makes my stomach feel like it's gnawing at itself, and then my esophagus gets really swollen, and then I get like a lump in my throat. So I don't like that feeling. And so there's certain things that I eat that causes that. So sometimes I'm like, like, do I want to eat right now or do I want to wait? Because I never know really what's going to cause that. And I know it's not the gluten itself. I know it's like the pesticides and the Roundup that they use, but they also use that on a lot of fruits and vegetables too. So there's certain things that I might think that, oh yeah, this is healthy for me, but then I eat it and then I have those same reactions. And sometimes if I'm sleeping, it can like burn. Oh, actually, I don't have a lump in my throat. I get like a burning in my throat. So that's the other thing that I just try to be cautious of those things as well. So yeah. And of course, praying over my food, so that it's a nutrient to my body, and just trying to be more mindful about the things that I'm putting into my body. So I've noticed that corn is causing me more issues, and I just heard that corn is something that is like heavily sprayed more than anything else. I'm like, that makes sense, because it really affects my esophagus and my throat when I eat that. So And corn is like heavy in my diet. And so I'm having to reprogram my mind and thinking, okay, so I have to like not use corn, because a lot of the gluten-free stuff that you purchase, it's made with like corn flour or cornmeal or whatever for noodles and that kind of stuff. So even though it says gluten-free, it still may not be good for me, depending on, you know, like I said, my sensitivities. And I've been working on those energetically for quite some time, to see and healing my body and just really being intentional with the statements I say to my bodies, to my body, not my bodies, but my body. So those are something that I've been doing for quite a while.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, corn, I mean, for some, corn is like super evil for humans. So
Yeah.
some have looked at it because it was originally created also crop for more animals and not for human consumption. And our systems don't digest it particularly well.
Exactly.
And I know when I've traveled more in Mexico or in the South and there's lots of corn, my system, like I really feel my system feels congested, or I feel more constipated, and like I'm constantly hungry for nutrients because I'm not getting it from the corn. And so I know you've probably also, had different kinds of research along the way, but there's really great flour. Like some people use chickpea flour, or there's cassava flour. Cassava is a really great root along like the more like sweet potato, like it's a cousin. But yeah, there's certain flours from the South that are also really, really great. They're a lot lighter and they're easier to digest, and they're also heavily nutrient based for us as well.
I'll look at some of the stuff, because I read all my ingredients, because I don't do artificial sugars or artificial colors or, those kind of things. So I'm already looking, I don't try not to do, high fructose corn syrup. And I mean, there's so many things that I've already like eliminated like from my diet that it's like, gosh, what else I have to eliminate?
Yeah. It's quite the journey.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I would love to eat just like a Mediterranean diet. Like literally that, I think I always crave it because I love like roasted vegetables and just the way they grill them. And I really enjoy more of the Mediterranean diet. And I don't, like I said, I don't eat meat, but every once in a while I do like to have a little bit of fish, but it's not very often, just because of what they're doing to the fish. I have to make sure that it's a really good quality and I know where it's coming from. I used to do a lot of salmon, but my body's not in alignment with that anymore. So, so sometimes I'll eat a little cod, but it's not even once a month, but I do enjoy that at times. If I feel like I'm needing just a little extra something, I'll do that. But yeah, the corn thing that's going to go. And I was trying to think if there was something else. Cause at first I thought, oh, maybe it was, like the dairy. Cause, Adam and I tend to eat a lot of nachos. And I was like, every time I eat nachos, like I get that, I wake up and my esophagus is full and my throat is burning. And it's just a very uncomfortable feeling. And so that's why I'm like, okay, time to reevaluate again and see what else I can eliminate. So I think I'm going to choose to eliminate corn and see how my body does just with eliminating that. But I know a lot of the pasta that I have at home, the gluten-free pasta is made with corn and I don't know, something, maybe corn and rice. So I'll have to look to see if, because sometimes when I eat pasta, even then, I'll get that full feeling. And so I don't know if you guys
have mung bean?
Huh?
Have you heard of mung bean?
Mung bean. I don't know. Mung bean, maybe not.
So a lot of Asian noodles, if you have any Asian stores. So there's rice noodles, but there's also some that for people who can't eat rice, there's like a mung bean tapioca starch, or just mung bean and some other starch that they use. So that is a really nice alternative, very light. And mung beans are really healthy for us. It's actually good if we soak them, sprout them, and eat them like that. But also certain cultures will cook them into like a mung bean sweet dessert. But you can also make them into like a lentil soup or a stew, or, you know, some kind of like a vegan, vegetarian bean chili kind of thing. But mung beans are really, really high protein, also really good for us. But yeah, sprouting is really good for them too, for us.
Oh, okay. Mung bean. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It's not a noodle though, right?
They do make it into noodle also. So it also is ground up and turned into a flour, and then also made into a noodle. There's actually one that I can send you. I can send you a photo of the back of the packaging. That way you just have a sense, and, you know, perhaps your spirit will guide you to the right Asian store.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot in this neighborhood, in this area, so I can definitely do that. That'd be nice. Yeah, I don't know if I've had it before. I'll have to look. I mean, I love I love Thai food. So that's one of my go-to things. I love good quality Thai food. And a lot of times I'll get pad woon sen, which is the little tiny thin rice noodles. Or, you know, or like a curry. I'll do like a curry or a Thai fried rice, something like that. But so I'm not opposed to that. I love those kind of noodles. So I'll look and see where I could find those, and what I could make with those. The thing is that for me, and I don't want to make the excuse that I'm too busy, but I really am. Sometimes I'm too busy to even think about what I want to eat. And then it's kind of like a fast thing, right? I'm like, oh, I'll just cook this quick pasta with some sauce and eat that quick just to eat, because I've been like starving. And then, but there's not a lot of like love put into it. So like yesterday, I was like starving. I didn't eat until probably, I don't know, like 1 p.m. And then I was like, what am I in the mood for? And I'm looking around. And I'm like, oh, I'll just have like gluten-free macaroni and cheese, because I haven't had that in like a long time. So like I added like a ton of vegetables. And so is that the best thing for me to eat? Probably not. But, you know, it's like I find myself too busy to like plan on what to eat, if that makes sense.
It definitely makes sense. I'm sure, you know, all of us can relate to living in city lifestyle and having full schedules at one point or another in our lives. And this is why I'm also hearing, you know, the importance of having community and, you know, having the sharings, whether it's like, you know, a neighbor somewhere where they can cook a day, or like just having support is so important, is what I'm hearing. And also it's a really big journey. You know, we're all learning also how to create new habits, and it takes a lot to also invest and make those switches for our brains, and also the habit of what store we go to. And so, you know, I really acknowledge your willingness to, you know, make those changes for yourself, and obviously then therefore for your kids and your family, because it's a lot to undertake. I know I've felt very overwhelmed when I started realizing, you know, waking up to what was going on with food and how to learn how to take care of myself on a very basic level. And so the easiest thing for me when I lived in the jungle, like roaming around barefoot and like a wild woman, was easy in that sense in the jungle, because I didn't have funds to be able to go and purchase things like I was used to up in North America, but I also was learning new ways of eating right from the land, and not eating anything out of a package was the easiest thing, because there you have preservatives in some way, shape, or form.
Right. Yeah, and then also the preservatives and what it's doing to our bodies too. And, you know, and those, because you don't know how your body's reacting to those things, you know. So that's the other thing that I feel like I'm sensitive to as well. So yeah, I read a lot of labels, but what's frustrating for me is like I'll shop at like Trader Joe's or like Sprouts, which are more, you know, organic stores. But my kids, they want to eat crap. And I'm just like, you know, I have such a hard time with it because they want to be like how their friends are, right? They want to eat like the Doritos and the Cheetos and the, you know, all the stuff that their friends eat. And I'm like, I don't want you guys to eat those things. But if they really just like, you know, kind of have a fit about it, I'm like, okay, I'll buy it for you. But I just want you to know, like, you know, this isn't good for your body. It's just like, okay, for instance, like top ramen. I haven't like ate top ramen in years, ever since I found out that it's almost like styrofoam. And so I was like, well, okay, I'm not going to buy that anymore. But the kids want top ramen. And I'm like, okay, but you guys, you do realize what it's doing to your body and blah, blah, blah. And they're just, we don't care. We just want the top ramen. I'm like, all right. So sometimes I just have to like throw my hands up instead of getting into like a fight with them. But then they wonder why they have a stomach ache, or they wonder why they're not feeling good, or they have a headache, or why they're having skin rashes. And then I'll use it as a teachable moment. Like, well, do you think it's because of what you've been eating? And of course they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, it could be, you know. So like right now, my daughter has this huge rash under her armpit. And I tell her, you know, like not to eat certain things. And she actually is very sensitive to so many things, and she's not supposed to eat those things. So I in the past have bought her so much to, you know, accommodate and modify her diet. She doesn't want to eat those things. She's like, they're disgusting. I don't want to eat them. I'm like, okay. And so she still eats everything that she's not supposed to eat. And I'm like, well, then if you choose to eat those things, your body is going to get mad at you and it's going to like rebel. So I just want you to be mindful of that when you're eating these things. So, and I said, I wish you could eat everything that everybody else eats, but she can't. So she has this huge rash under her armpit. It's like all, and it's red, like it's so red, it's almost purple. It's like seeping, and it's actually in both armpits. And I've told her before, she only wants the secret deodorant, and I've bought her so many natural deodorants, and she's like, they don't work for me. I only want this one. And I'm like, I do not like buying those for you. And I told her the reasons why. And I said, I'll buy it for you, but I'm just telling you, I prefer you not to wear these because it gets into your lymph nodes. It has aluminum in it. And I give her all the long list of why I don't want her. And she's like, I don't care, Mom. This is what I want to wear. I'm like, all right, whatever. So, but now she is suffering the consequences of, and I don't know if it's of the deodorant or if it's, you know, of course, other things in her building or her body, like maybe sugar buildup, yeast. I'm not sure, but like she keeps missing school because her armpits hurt so bad. It's literally like she can't even like put her armpits down because they hurt so bad. So I don't know. And I know if I take her to the doctor, they're just gonna put her on like a toxic cream that it may help a little bit, but it's not gonna fix the problem, you know, or what's causing it in the first place. So I talked to her today. I told her to put castor oil on her armpits. She said she did. And I said, okay, well, I don't want you using that deodorant right now. And so she said, okay, I'm not going to use it for right now, and I'll see how I feel. So I'm like, okay. So we'll see. But I just feel so bad because I know it's so painful for her. And I know how hard it is as a kid. I know how it is for me as an adult to eat a certain way, and everybody else eats like all this junk, and I'm just like, I cringe when I go places because people are so addicted to the foods, and everything is like, of course, pork oriented, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I haven't ate pork for like 11 years, and everybody's like, oh, bacon this or whatever, right? And I'm just like cringing because I'm like, you know, that is so toxic to your body, and it's just gross. So, but they are just, you know, they're set in that mindset that they want to eat what tastes good. I think for Adam and I, like now we think about eating certain things and we're like, we get sick to our stomach. Oh no, like how could I have ever ate that before? It's like now it's like, no, we can't eat those things. So gross. But anyway, so yeah, no, I have made so many changes to my diet, to my lifestyle, all those kind of things. Like, I think it was, let's see, Mariana's 15, so I think like 16 or 17 years ago, I went to the seminar, The Secret, and James Ray was drinking chlorophyll on stage. And at this time, like, I loved Pepsi. Like, I just loved the taste of it. I loved like a nice cold fresh Pepsi. It was always so good. And I remember him saying, "Oh, are you guys wondering what I'm drinking up here on stage?" And he's like, "It's chlorophyll and it's green." And anyways, he goes, "It's to make your body pH and blah blah blah." And so he's talking about that, and he goes, "If you're gonna drink pop," he said, "don't ever drink diet pop. Whatever you do, it's worse than just regular pop. If you're gonna drink a pop, just drink a regular pop." He said, "But even if you drink coffee or whatever," he said, "you have to drink 32 ounces of water to counteract the pop or the coffee, the 8 ounces of pop or coffee that you drink, because it throws off your pH balance." And I thought, oh my gosh. And so I started like doing the math between the pop that I was drinking, which was like, those like 20 ounces. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'd have to drink like, like over 70 ounces of water just to counteract that one soda bottle that I drank. So from that moment on, I just decided I'm not going to drink pop anymore. And I haven't. And every once in a while, if we're at a party, I might, like, if the kids have like a pop or something, I might take one little sip of it, but then I'm like, ugh, it's so sweet. Like, I can't even handle it. So I don't drink. I mean, I do not buy soda for the house, so they don't get any pop at the house. I don't even buy juice because they have natural flavors, natural flavoring in the juice. And yes. I don't know that pop. You don't like pop anymore? Oh, okay. Just water. Just water? Gianni said he doesn't like pop anymore, just water. So we have a Kangen water machine, so we drink that throughout the day. So the kids do drink that at school because they bring a bottle of water to school with them. And that's what I drink throughout the day. So I don't drink anything else. Oh, I do drink fulvic and humic acid that every day. So I do drink that. But other than that, I don't even like to go out to eat and drink their water because I'm like, ooh, I don't know what their water. So I just drink like a tiny little sip just to like rinse my food down. But then that's about it. So I'm a little bit of a water snob, Adam and I.
Water is life, so that is important to be conscientious of that. While we can transmute anything and we can also charge the water and cleanse and clear, it's also much better when the water is able to sit, because a lot of the water that comes from restaurants, as I'm sure you and many others have realized now, is a lot of it is through the taps of some sort, and it really stresses and strains the water anytime it hits an angle. And gets delivered through pipes, and also carries memory with it. So if you're not also consciously clearing the memory of the water, then you're also intaking the energy from whatever, wherever it has also been processed or treated or what have you. And so would you feel to align with doing a juice day or at some point along this journey that we're undertaking?
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds like fun.
Beautiful. One of the sisters that wasn't able to join us today, but she very gracefully shared a lot of different knowledge. Some basics that she recommended for juicing is, one, to have a cloth bag. So even if you have, depending on the juicer and depending on what you're juicing, just to make sure there's no fibers or anything, having some kind of like a cheesecloth bag or a cloth bag where you can strain the juice and just make sure that you're having the juice. That's one thing that's important. And for longer periods of juice fasting, Like my intention is from the 16th today until the 14th of January during this this period. So awareness of brushing the teeth afterwards, just so it's softer on the teeth, or also just rinsing the mouth and not having too much high citrus as well for the juicing for extended periods. For extended fasts of juicing is also good. But she had access to a lot of watermelon. It was more summery or more in the tropical areas. And I know we're very blessed in a lot of our stores. We still have access to watermelon almost year round. But grape juice, and she also said there's a lemon ginger blast green juice that Lou Corona suggests. And yeah, so just that note on less citrus, good awareness of teeth care, just to protect the teeth, just to swish after drinking the juice, just because the sugars also and any citrus. Yeah, and one of the important pieces I also feel to share is she said that when she did her 40-day watermelon juice fasting, that was the only time that she was able to pass the mucoid plaque. And the mucoid plaque is like this, it's like this snake of a buildup of some hard buildup in the intestines that she literally had to like start pulling out of the body as it was passing. And it's like this hard kind of snake, basically thin, hard snake that gets passed, so that everyone has the buildup of. So I'm excited to see if this juice fasting helps me pass that, because I've done a lot of different fasting and with the water fast this year. So it was interesting because I was doing the research on the 40-day water fast, and Adam, would you feel open to sharing the images at this moment also? So what I did was I did a photo at day 0 or day 1, and then at day 10, day 20, day 30, and day 40. And it was such an intensive process. But what the structures that supported me in honoring myself and the journey was, I would write in my notebook once a day, just either dreams I had, emotions that were passing, realizations. And so every day I would write something. And if I missed a day or two, then I would backtrack and write what I remembered from that day before, because sometimes I was just so exhausted. And I believe it was day 3 or 4, my body intuitively told me to have a bit of turmeric and pepper, black pepper. So I added a little bit of that into the water for 2 days, and then it didn't happen again. And someone had mentioned they had a friend who did lemon water. And so at a certain point, I added little bits of lemon, but I had a lot of hot water to counter the fact that I felt really cold. Plus I was in England, and it was, fall time. And just obviously not intaking any calories and not having energy to exercise. I had energy to exercise up to about day 7, and I was skipping and doing some yoga. And then after, I hit a point where there was no more energy for any of that. And it was just be still, be silent, listen, be in the bathtub that I gracefully was, Spirit made sure I was in places where they had bathtubs and I could do that. So these, the images show the body weight loss, but the last 2 days of the fast, I started to throw up, and I think that was because I had too much lemon juice also in my system, and it's obviously not the same as doing strictly water because there's also now the citrus element, but that was really harsh on my stomach. But when I was around midway point, around day I would say the hardest days for me emotionally in that respect were days 18, 19. It started to just be very intense. And then once I was past that point, it was kind of calm and easier. But what I also noticed was I also did urine therapy around the halfway point, or maybe about day 24, 25. And so just basically drinking my urine that I was peeing out from the water. And that actually helped to pass a bowel movement. And I hadn't, had any bowel movements for about 2 weeks at that point. So that was something that I noticed, I could feel in my brain, because I've done urine therapy in the jungles and over the years as I travel, just to help reset, recalibrate my body, because it sends signals to the brain, for my brain very clearly, of what I need to consume, what I've consumed too much of, and I just know, without a shadow of a doubt, what my body is communicating in that way. So it's a very powerful medicine, and it took quite a bit of, just kind of easing into it. When I first started, I was in Costa Rica and just eating papaya. So basically my pee tasted like papaya soup. But you get a really clear sense of, if you're having too much sodium, if you're not eating the right kind of foods, too deep fried, whatever's going on, you'll know, because you'll taste it and your brain will receive the signals. Just like when we, I think Natasha and I have talked about this with gardening also, where you put your own saliva onto the seed and any intention before you plant the seed. And so the plant will also grow based on what your body specifically needs. And, and when we also, it's common knowledge for some too, but when we also pee in our garden on our plants, then it also registers what our bodies need and also shifts their nutrients based on the needs of our body. And so this is really that whole, the organism is all communicating with everything, and supporting what is needed. That's like some people's gardens will all of a sudden start growing something even if they didn't plant it, because the ecosystem knows what we need. So it's really fascinating when we're really tuned into these deeper levels and that interconnectedness, and allow ourselves to notice those kinds of synchronicities, but also the way the life supports itself. It's really quite fascinating. So weight loss, was a big part, but I also felt a lot of my body healing itself. I could feel my heartbeat slowing down. I could feel certain bones and muscles start to relax or click back into place. And I was able to really hear emotions that were also locked in for a long time, either from elementary school or childhood or even high school. People or things that I hadn't thought about that were still locked in my body started to bubble up and surface. And so there were days or nights where I would just be grieving and crying and releasing a lot of these energies that was a big part of my intention, to release. So lots more space and lots more feeling of freedom and clarity. And it was a really big journey. And I had so much energy at a certain point too, in the sense of like what to do with my time other than just laying there and looking at the wall on days where I didn't have energy to walk, or I would go out and I would walk for, maybe 100 meters and I'd have to sit down. I'd be like, okay, that's it. So it was really intensive, like I was working also. I was still working in people's spaces doing the Zen My Den, and I was around people eating and in restaurants, so I was still functioning like your so-called average everyday person. But that was the thing where like all of my fasting experiences up until preparing and being ready for this 40-day water fasting made it easier. Like I was used to being around people and just smelling the food. And I would ask people, do you mind if I just smell your food? It would just give me the comfort. Like I would eat it through the smell, like, okay. But one of the things I spent my time doing was amalgamating videos on YouTube. One is a fasting playlist, watching different videos of people's experiences. And so there's a playlist on fasting, and doctors. There's a specific doctor who also really believes in the long-term 40-day water fast and support people through that in his facility that he has. I'm not recalling his name in this moment. So I amalgamated a few different doctors who speak on it, and then other people who have shared about their journeys and how to come out also of long-term fasting. And so many different elements also, like what's that word? I think one of you might know, aphagy or aphagy. Oh, there's a state that our body goes into,
It's
like where the fat starts.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're saying
So
it
anyway, so
just a little wrong. That's why I'm like, what is it? But
yeah, it's aphagy.
Atrophy.
Atrophy, thank you. Yeah, so it's all very new for me also, but I put a playlist together for the fasting, and then also on healthy recipes from people who don't eat any sugar, any salt, any oil, to people who are vegetarian, to vegan, to some people who still eat some meat, but they cook, a little more consciously. And so there's this playlist as well that's available for people, and then healthy eating facts as well, of like different awarenesses around food or different healthy practices. So a lot of my creative energy went towards wanting this to be more easily accessible for other people who are also embarking on that journey. And so obviously, us coming together today and sharing from our different perspectives is also beautiful and potent and powerful in its own way, because we all have our different journeys. And I feel the 40-day water fasting, I only recorded one short video. A sister recorded me taking my first few bites of watermelon, and you could see from the video also that there's a massive plate of fruit. I had like strawberries that I shoved a little blueberry into, and I had a watermelon, and I had an avocado and pear, and I was so excited to eat, even though I did the research on you're meant to eat, one blueberry or two or some watermelon and wait half an hour and then double it, and you keep increasing. I basically ate a whole bunch of that fruit within the first hour, went to sleep, and I would wake up and eat. And so I didn't come out of the fast the best way. And was very near the experience of the refeeding syndrome, where your organs really can't take it. And, in times of war or famine, where people didn't have access to food and their bodies were starved, when people wanted to feed them, they didn't realize also that their systems wouldn't be able to take it. And so some people have died from refeeding too quickly. The organs just shut down and they pass away, so it was a really intensive journey. And aside from that, it was like all of the old patterns of eating started to kick back in. Not only was I eating anything and everything, because I felt this also resetting in my system of like being told, don't eat this, don't eat that. Like, and all of these different, just so much energy around, you can't eat this and this is that, and all of that toxic negative energy on like everything is dangerous and everything is bad. And all of that was softened and deprogrammed. But as I started to eat again, it was like old tendencies of the comfort came, or old habits. I introduced animal product really quickly, bread, like all the stuff you shouldn't do, I was eating. By the first 7 days, like I was eating normally as though I'd like never stopped eating. And so I was having pain in my abdominal area, around the sides of my body. One night I couldn't really sleep. It was so painful. It was like bloating. And, even though I knew that I shouldn't eat as much, or I should slow down, it was like something in me was like, just eat. So, I'm very lucky. But that's also why I'm curious to embark on this juice fast, because there's people who have done a lot of exploration on fasting and the difference between water and juicing. And juicing is we have more energy, and we can, be physically active because we're intaking calories, and the muscle building and everything is, to what I've seen through other videos and the research, is that it just seems more sustainable and more healthy. But I'm also, just like when I did the 40-day water fast, I'm unattached that I have to do the 30 days. If I do a week and I feel like my body needs some food, then I'll reintroduce, something light, and then I can always go back into it. So just being very gentle on my system. Because as I was refeeding and I came back from England, I know not to eat airplane food, but I ordered, like, it was shepherd's pie, so it was comfort, and I ordered like 2 or 3 more, plus all the bread and the butter, like airplane food I had not touched in years, and my body was so obviously, you know, cleansed and clear that I was super sensitive. My legs, by the time I was getting off the plane, my one right leg was swollen. I was like, oh no, you know, I was like, this is not good. I'm in trouble. And then my other leg was swollen, and it was like a good 2 weeks where I was going to the sweat lodge, but my legs were swollen, my ankles, you know, and I could feel the chemicals that I put in my body from eating that food on the airline. And I felt, you know, a lot of guilt and shame of like, I know not to eat this, but it was like I was in this completely, it's like I went back in time 15 years ago before I was conscious about any of it, and it was like, don't care, just eat. So yeah, it's been a really big journey. And that's also why I didn't feel to share as I was finishing the 40-day water fast at the time. There was such a deep process, and it felt so intimate. And I just felt like, you know, today was the day to share about it, and just open up that conversation as well. Yeah, because it's,
Quisha, did
you know,
Adam tell you about the lady that we met in Texas? Did he share that story? The couple that we met in Texas, they work for, I can't remember his name, maybe Adam may know. But we went to a conference on sovereignty, and they had a little table out in the foyer, and they would take a picture of your iris in your eye and tell you like what was going on in your body and what to do. So we both did that. And one of the things is I could tell that my eyesight is getting like worse, just nearsightedness, right? So I can't, like, there's certain things I can't read. I'm like, where's my glasses? And I've been such a person that like I refuse to wear glasses. Like when I was in my 20s, or no, maybe I was in my 30s, early 30s, I think. I had went and got LASIK surgery done so I can see far now, but now it's harder for me to see like really small stuff, which I used to have really, like up until like probably 2 years ago, I could see like really small print, very, very fine. It's just getting blurrier and blurrier. But he said that her and her husband went on a juice fast. It was a watermelon juice fast for 18 months. And that's all they drank for 18 months. Didn't eat anything. It was just watermelon. I was like, oh, that's like hardcore. But they were able to like reverse any ailment that they have.
Yep.
And I think for me, I can't think about the 18 months. I just have to take, okay, I'm going to do it for this one day. And then, you know, and then it's like, okay, I did it that day. Let's do it one more day, right? I'd have to take it to that approach.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'd have to trick my brain into doing it, because otherwise, so like I know for a fact that I could go a whole day without eating. I know that for a fact. I mean, I could be so busy that, you know, it's late at night and I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't even eaten anything today, and not really feel hungry. But the moment you say, oh, you can't eat anything, you're like, oh my gosh, you go into panic mode. Like, you know, like, oh my gosh, I'm starving and I need to eat something. But knowing there's days that you do go without anything and you're fine and you don't even think about food. The day that Adam went to Canada and he was deported and refused entry, I cried so much that night and the next day. I think literally I didn't eat for 2 days. And I honestly didn't even realize I hadn't eaten anything. And I was like, have I eaten anything? And I was like trying to think back, like, what have I eaten? And I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't eat anything yesterday. I haven't eaten anything today. It was just crazy because I was like in such an emotional upset. And but I know for a fact, like if I go somewhere and say it's like, I don't know, like I go to work and I'm just drinking water and I'm like, oh, I'll go to Jamba Juice and get like, you know, a smoothie. I'll go, you know, drink a smoothie and then I'm not hungry for, you know, hours. Like that fills me up. I come home and I drink my fulvic and humic acid. And but that was the other question I wanted to ask you is are you going to continue with any kind of supplements that you take? Like I don't take supplements, but I do a hot drink every day, one where I put fulvic and humic acid in it, and I put organic green tea matcha, and then I put cacao with mushrooms in it, and and then I put some chai tea and I mix it all together. I put a little bit of organic honey in it. And then I drink that as like a hot drink because I don't drink coffee. But so do you think that would still be okay to drink, or what are you thinking with that? Quisha, I can't hear you. Quisha, can you hear us? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, pardon me. I forgot I put it on mute because there's a vacuum running around.
Okay.
Yes, I was responding and then I heard you go, "Can you hear me?" Oh, right. Yeah.
I didn't see on there that it was muted, so.
So the juice fast will just be fruit juices juiced, period, plus water. I hadn't factored in if I would have anything hot. If I did, it would just be hot water. Because obviously, being in a colder climate, it's winter right now, that's a factor to consider. So I'm not sure if that would, be considered
part of the fast.
I mean, yeah, like breaking it in some way because it's cooked water, in a sense.
Like
but
boiled water.
I feel like, yeah, boiled water, right? I would love to really just stick to just the juices. So that's like no teas, no nothing is really the intention of that. And as much watermelon as I can get, I'll do. Apples, whatever other fruits that I can get in bulk. But I foresee a lot of apple juice and as much watermelon as I can still find. And I have one of those cloth bags so I can strain, because I noticed when I did the other day just to test the juicer and prepare and started introducing watermelon, some of like the foam, there was foam on top, even though it separated most of the water, there's foam. So that's still fibrous, so I really want to make sure that that is also strained out. So literally just the juice. And the ones that did 18 months, they weren't eating watermelon, right? It was just juicing it also. Do you know?
Adam, do you remember if they were eating it as well? Because I'm trying to remember. I think they did eat it. They juiced it and I think they ate it, right? Are you able to unmute yourself and tell us? Adam, we have an interview in 10 minutes. FYI. He might be on a call. I honestly can't remember.
He might be on, yeah. That's okay. But so for my intention, the biggest intention is to really benefit from this time of the year. So the Indian culture calls it the Margazi. This period of Margazi is when the position of the planets and the way the sun is and the distance and everything, like the energetics are much heavier on our systems. And so it's also a time of the year where men and women will shift their energetic focuses. So men will do more chanting and singing and lean more into the feminine aspect. And women will do more things like, drawing mandalas with sand or things that are more masculine, energetic based. And so there's that shift that's also happening. But why I'm also not attached to, I have to do 30 days straight of the juice is that just to be very gentle with my system. I know that I can do it. It's just to take it, if I do a week, if I do 10 days, and then I feel like, okay, I'm going to eat for another 2 days and then I'll restart it. The intention is just to really be hyper conscious of what I'm doing at this time of year and reset my body and get the right nutrients. And so also go about it in a very gentle and loving way. And take from what I learned in that first 40-day where it was, quite intensive, extremely intensive, because I never even did a 30-day, I was just like, boom, let's do 40. But I also had that mindset of if for any reason I need to come out of the fast for my health or it's not safe or anything, I'm open to that. So I wasn't, wasn't dogmatic about it. So with this fast, it'll be interesting also to embark on that in person with Natasha for a few days. Can you see, is she still on the call? I know her,
Yeah,
she
she
might
is.
have, yeah. So it'll be nice to get to share it with somebody also, and even yourself, of wanting to do a day, and whenever it aligns with Adam, if I have to bring the juicer to him, it's nice to just be in the discovery and dance through the journey with others, and to have that inclusion and community where we can go, wow, this is what I'm noticing, or this is what I learned. But I feel like one of the important things for anyone who is doing this is like really taking that time to just journal and just be present, whether it's on a post-it, if not a full journal entry, but just being conscious of what's processing through and giving ourselves that time, because it's such a beautiful medicine and reset. Yeah. Thank you for sharing a lot of your experiences. I'm curious, Natasha, if you're still around, and is there anything that you have to share around motherhood and feeding your son, and what that journey's like for you?
And Quisha, Adam and I have a call that we have to get on to, because we're doing our interview today. We do them on Mondays at 4.
That's right.
So I
Beautiful.
can't stay on any longer, but let me know when do you plan on meeting again?
I'd like to arrange another one at some point. I don't have a set date yet. So perhaps actually on day 3, when, or maybe day 3 with Natasha, when we finish the 3 days together. And it doesn't sound like she's there at the moment. So why don't we, if Adam's available, we can bring this call to an end. Thank you all so much for sharing your energy for this, and may this serve the collective and reach whoever it's meant to. So the intention was to share it on the YouTube channel for the Heart followers. And if you wanted to share it in any of your networks, then the intention is just to be of service.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Adam, do we have you back?
I don't know. But I'm gonna hang up now, but I'll see you guys next time.
Okay, thank you so much, Amanda.
Bye.
Blessings on your way.
Thank
you. I'm still here, but I'm also going.
Okay, perfect. Is there anything you want to say before you go, while Adam's obviously still got the recording going?
You were asking about motherhood related, fasting related, motherhood related. I can relate to what forget the name of the woman that was just speaking. Amanda was mentioning similar. There's no health issues that she's like the ones she's describing, but it's just general concern, and the sugar, for sure. The sugar is a big one for the child. And also, because I'm the one feeding the children, then you end up also having exposure, and then possibly throwing some in your mouth while you're cooking. So it is more difficult for sure this way. That's why I, like I said earlier, appreciate it that I can be away from this, so that I can focus on the fasting.
Beautiful. Well, I think it would be lovely if you're open to it when we've completed the 3 days, to do another group call, and just to share what we've experienced, and and we'll see if it aligns for them also to join us for a day or something. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you again so much, Natasha, for sharing your intentions and being open to taking this journey together. I have a feeling we're gonna have a great time with it. It's nice to get to do it with somebody.
Quisha, I've got another Zoom meeting that I got to get on to. So thank you so much. This was really insightful.
Beautiful. Thank you so kindly, Adam. It's been such a wonderful experience to have your support in this, just coming together in its natural, fumbling kind of way. And
thank you.
We will be in touch for sure, and see about another one.
Okay, we'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care.
All right,
thank you, everybody.